means pleasant, which seems to imply to us that he was cordial, he was respectful, and may have been an easy fella to get along with. But Naaman had a problem. The Bible says that he was a leper. No, he didn't have a cold, he had leprosy. He didn't have measles, he had leprosy. He did not have the mumps, he did not have chicken pox, he had leprosy. Leprosy was a fatal disease at that time. When a person contracted leprosy, there was no cure for leprosy. When you caught leprosy, you were under a death sentence. You know that your time was running short, that the disease was going to eventually take you out. No matter how great a person you were, no matter how much money you had, no matter how much prominence you had, no matter how many people you knew, no matter how great your job was, if you got leprosy, leprosy was going to take you out. How many of you know that no matter how holy you live, no matter how righteous you live, no matter how good you live, good people still have problems too? Are you with me? And some of your problems threaten to take you out. There are some problems that even Christians have. There are some situations, some circumstances that we can go through, that if we don't watch ourselves, those things can take us out. Naaman had leprosy. Leprosy at that time, especially if you were a Jew, leprosy was ceremonially defiling. In other words, you lived on the outskirts of the city. When you saw somebody coming, you had to announce that you were a leper. Leper, leper, leper. You had to announce so other people could get out of the way. You did not have access to the tabernacle. You did not have access to the temple. You could not come and worship God freely. But Naaman was not a Jew. Naaman was a Gentile. He was of the nation of Israel. Therefore, he was not excommunicated from society because of his leprosy. But the interesting thing about this is that verse 1 tells us that as captain of the army of Syria, that God used him to bring about mighty victories for the nation of Syria, which lets me know then that God wasn't just concerned about Israel at that time, but he was concerned about everybody, and that you had better be careful at folk who don't look like they're much and don't measure up to much in your eyes. They may have some flaw in their life that you have taken notice of, but be careful. Just because they got a flaw don't mean God can't use them. Look at somebody, tell them God use who he wants. God can use who he wants. And so Naaman was a great captain of the Syrian army. God used him to win great victories for his nation and for his people. On one escapade, as they invaded the land of Israel and had taken certain folk captive, one of the captives was a young handmaid that had now become a servant in the house of the king of Syria. And when she saw Naaman's condition and saw what a great person he was, she said, would to God that this man was back in Israel, because there's a prophet back in Israel who could heal this man. It is interesting now that here is a servant girl in captivity, and yet she is still bragging about her God. Let me share something with you. I don't care how bad your situation may be, God can still be bragged on. Are you with me? Don't ever allow your situation or your circumstance to stifle your enthusiasm and to kill your joy. No matter how far you go down, you can still lift your hands and give God praise. He is still King of Kings. He is still Lord of Lords. He is still a great God. He is still a mighty God. And things might not be working out the way I want them to work out right now, but if I just hold on a little while longer, God will surely make a way. And so this woman is bragging on her God. I think one of the problems with us is that many times when we get saved, we move so far away from the prisoners that they can't hear our testimony. Are you hearing me? You remember in Acts, book of Acts, chapter 16, when Paul and Silas were in prison. The Bible said that they prayed and they sang songs. The most interesting thing was, the Bible says, and the prisoners heard them. See, we ought not ever move so far away from folk that ain't saved that they can't hear our praise, that they can't hear our testimony, that they don't know that I used to be like you. And if God can save me, surely God can save you. If God can rescue me, sure, anybody in here got a testimony? And so the woman, even in captivity, is bragging about her God. The king hears it. The king hears it. And so the king quickly writes a letter, and he sends Naaman to Israel with the letter. He sends a letter to the king of Israel and said, listen, this is the captain of my army. Tell you what I need you to do. I need you to cure him of his leprosy. Now, when the king of Israel gets it, he rents his clothes and said, what is wrong with this man? I mean, who does he think I am? He gonna send no one has ever been cured of leprosy. And here he is sending that man to my house. He's trying to start a fight with me. Are you with me? I mean, he's up to something. He's up to something. He's trying to start a fight with me. I mean, he gonna send the man to me talking about cure this man of his leprosy. Well, word gets to Elijah. And when Elijah hears the word, Elijah sends a messenger to the king and said, king, come on. Well, why are you getting all bent out of shape? Listen, send the man down here to me, and we'll see what God will do. We'll handle this situation. Elijah, it tells us something, because Elijah as the prophet is God's representative down here on the face of the earth. When he speaks as the oracle of God. He's the mouthpiece of God. So in a very real sense, going to the prophet is very much like going to God. And so when